Welcome to Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine. Our musicals for selection for today is For Women by Nina Simone. My skin is black. My arms are long. My hair is woolly. My back is strong. Strong enough to take the pain. Inflicted again and again. What do they call me? My name is Aunt Sarah. My name is Aunt Sarah. Aunt Sarah. My skin is yellow. My hair is long. Between two worlds, I do belong. My father was rich and white, and he forced my mother late one night. What do they call me? My name is Sophronia. My name is Sophronia. Sophronia. My skin is tan. My hair is fine. My hips invite you. My mouth like wine. Whose little girl am I? Anyone with money can buy. What do they call me? My name is Sweet Thing. My name is Sweet Thing. Sweet Thing. Ooh. My skin is brown and my manners tough. I'll kill the first mother I see, 'cause my life has been rough. I'm awfully bitter these days, 'cause my parents were slaves. What do they call me? My name is Peter.
Okay, now you know I wanted to catch that note too, but I didn't want to mess it up.
Oh, you got it.
Bless you. Thank you, Lynette, my beautiful minister of flavor and musical vibes. Woo-hoo! Hey, fam. I am Alexis Roan, aka Alexis Grace, founder of Truth Meets Story LLC. expanding empathy one story at a time, and host of Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers. I am so glad that you are here today. Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers is a faith and adult storytelling series. By faith, we mean we explore the mystery of how God shows up for all of God's amazing creation, and we tell the story of God showing up via adult stories. And by adult stories, I mean stories told to adults, for adults, by adults, for people with a developed adult context in an adult way. There are stories for 7-year-olds, and now there are story times for adults. You're welcome. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my makeup. Okay, so you have to forgive me for being kind of vain, but here's what's happened. I'm looking at my forehead, and my forehead is all kinds of different colors. And that is because I have been going back and forth from upstairs in the space where I was holding a meeting to downstairs where I am in the studio shooting this space. And so I keep looking at my forehead, and I realize that at some point after this pandemic ends, I'm going to get me a professional makeup artist, because I can also see the part in the forehead where I was sweating because I've been up since sunrise, and I went ahead and made my face up since I had a meeting. I didn't know how long the meeting was going to go. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to get dressed and I'm going to just do it all early on. And so now I'm sitting and I can't stop looking at my forehead. I know y'all think I'm looking at y'all, but I'm really looking at this uneven makeup, and I'm bringing more attention to it. So you're going to have to forgive me. And now I'm starting to sweat. But anyway, you know what? All in all, it is a good day, and it has been a great week. I want to thank all of you for participating in all of the things that I had going on this past week. I had several of you call, email, text me saying that y'all had registered for Miss Shirley's workshop. And somebody had even said that you found that it was a free workshop for everybody but Radikia. Radikia was the only one who had to pay. And so you know what? Look, don't be foul. Don't be foul, and pay attention in your math class. So thank you for everyone who showed up for that. And also, I am grateful. Another action that happened this week is more of you were reading your Bibles deeper for them stories. You're like, wait, I don't know that story. Thank you for those who participated in the religion and rape culture workshop. And I am so grateful for all of the comments, the chatter that everyone was participating in. And it seemed to be a necessary conversation. It's one that we don't have often. And we need to be talking about some stuff. And I think it's interesting that every faith system, no matter what you believe in people. People are practicing this particular faith, and people have these different experiences. And they have been really hungry for real conversation, real dialogue. And so I was so grateful to participate in that, and to, again, get a lot of you to open. And for some people, they're like, I open my Bible every day and I read what Paul wrote and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, listen, bless your whole life by reading the Bible that Paul read, reading the Bible that Jesus read. There is some rich, rich content in these stories, and they are nuanced. But God shows up, and I think God in these stories are also giving us a ton of agency. And I was encouraging people to read. Let me pull up. I think I put it. I didn't put it in there. I thought I had put it in and made one of the banners. But when people were asking about the Tamar and Absalom story, I was encouraging you to read the story. It's in 2 Samuel chapter 13, and to read the New Living Translation version, and also to read chapters 13 and 14, because I want you to know that women are both powerful and dangerous. And people know that, and we need to do a better job of just taking agency over our narratives, over our lives, over the kinds of things that people say about us. We are an amazing, amazing people. We really are. So hope y'all enjoyed that. Thank you so much for doing that. But the other thing I did this week, which is kind of typical, is I embarrassed my mama. Hey, mama, if you're in the virtual pews, tell the people, hey. When I was on the panel for religion and the rape culture. And they were closing it out, and they said, hey, does anyone want to just kind of close us out and share, whatever. I shared as a closing narrative the story about what happened to me. Gosh, it has to be almost a year and a half ago, November of 2019. I had only been in Raleigh for about 6 months. And, as I'm telling the story or whatever, and I told an abbreviated version, but when I said, so I ran his ass over, Mama was like, oh Lord, the rabbi almost came out of his skin. And she's sitting there like, Lord, when is my child gonna just be like, so I, did like, I don't know what Mama think I was, I don't know what she thought I was gonna do, but at some point she will have to accept that what I'm gonna do is always and forever totally show up as Alexis Grace. And I am grateful for all of that space. What I'm doing right now is I am copying and I'm pasting. I'm going to post this actually in the comment section. It's an actual article with me talking about that that whole journey, so you get to read it. So I literally did. I ran this guy over, but he asked for it. And so what was interesting was that as Mom was like cracking up laughing, like, oh Lord, I can't believe this girl said this, and the rabbi's like all shooketh and I'm like, what had happened. And so as Mom and I were like rehashing that whole story, which of course she knew about. She said, you just come out and you don't even warn anybody. And I'm like, but Mama, in the story, I survived. The attacker survives. I am confused about what I'm supposed to be cleaning up. Like, I don't understand. And then I said, although I ran his ass over, when the police got there, he was gone. And so he went to his grandmama's house that, I'm convinced, I wrote this whole story. It's like he went to his grandma's house. He woke up that next morning, he was sore. And he was probably asking like, like, Grandma, can I go to church with you this morning? And then Mom and I began to go back and forth with like what happened when he went to his grandma's church. And so I said, he went down the aisle and said, what must I do to be saved? Because the devil is out here making an ass of me. The devil is trying to for sure destroy me. And God spared me last night. And, I don't know what happened, but, it all worked out. I'm here to testify, that God is good and God saves, and I need to go ahead and just, turn my life. I don't know what he said, but that was kind of how I was imaging it. And then Mama said, he went to the mic and he said, first giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. So we was like having this whole conversation about what happened the next day with that brother. But by the grace of God, he lived, I lived, and the rabbi's hella shooketh. But I also believe that the rabbi and others know that women are important. Women are powerful. We are dangerous. We are not trying to play small. We're not going to shrink anymore. The other thing that I had happen this week, it was awesome. It was yesterday, actually. I was interviewed on a podcast called The Artist Soapbox. The host is the 2020 Piedmont laureate here in North Carolina. Her name is Tamara Kassane. Hey, Tamara. She said, she tunes in to us. She's often in the virtual pews, and we had a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And so one of the first questions that she had asked me was about my Divine Hours prayer walk. She goes, I know that you go on a walk every morning at sunrise. Is that when you're creating? And I said to her, no, I'm not creating. What I'm doing is I'm getting centered. I said, you see, every day there are all of these messages that say that I don't have a right to exist. I don't have a right to create. I don't have a right to thrive, to engage my bliss. Somehow my life is better used in service to others. And so I have to every morning get up and be reminded that I am important and I have important things to do. And when I'm done with that whole exercise, then I go out and I do those important things. I was like, but no, I don't go out and do this like, oh, I'm just kind of clearing my head for my, my creative mind or whatever. No, that ain't what I'm doing. The interview will come out at about, I think she said it takes about a month or so to edit. And so I'm going to be sharing that with you. But I did think it was really interesting that there are people on the planet There are creators, there are artists who actually get up first thing in the morning and they just start creating. And I'm thinking like, wow, I can't wait to figure out like what that feels like. I just wake up and start creating. Every day I am finding something. But the other thing that I do, and you're going to find this for those of you who read that article, you're going to see that I'm not only just telling a story about like, something crazy that happened to me. I am also trying to make sense of people's response to different things. I always want to figure out like, how can I understand the people with whom I share this planet? I want to know them better, and I want to love them better, and I want to meet them where they are. And I'm just super curious about these things. And so no matter what happens to me, I'm always introspective and I'm always examining myself, and all of that is happening. It was the same way when I was in seminary. I was there about 6 months, and I was very different from everyone who was there on campus. I was like in my early 40s. I had just terminated a love project, and I'm like, I'm pushing the reset button on life. And I'm with these people who are like, yes, love lasts forever. And I'm like, but by the grace of God, bullshit don't. Love may last forever, and I pray that it does, but we don't want a lifetime of bullshit. And that's kind of that was the situation that I was in. I was in some bullshit. And so like that terminated. And so I'm on this campus, and I'm very different from everyone. And I'm trying to figure out like what the devil is going on. And 6 months in, I began to see a spiritual director, Reverend Chris Murphy. He was a Presbyterian minister. And our first meeting, he was, we were just trying to, he wanted to get to know me. And so he asked me to describe for him what a typical week in seminary is like for me. And so I tell him, well, I take classes Monday through Thursday. On Wednesday is the sunrise prayer meeting, the all campus prayer meeting from 7:30 to 7:55 at the Catalyst. So I attend that. On Thursday is the 2-hour African Student Fellowship meeting from 1 to 3. And so I do that. And then I said, and every first and last Friday, I go, I go to the old school hip hop and R&B roller skating night in Chino Hills. And then on the second and third Friday of every month, I go to Jazz at Sunset. It's at the LA County Museum of Fine Arts. And I was like, I tell them like you can, they let you bring food in, bring your drinks. And so I pack a basket, I fill it with wine and water. I go to Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and I get some nachos. And I'm like literally just kind of describing, my day, or what it looks like when I'm there, like the second and third Friday of every month, like kind of that practice. And so I'm just kind of, I'm just rattling it off. And I look up, and he is cracking up laughing. And I'm sitting there like trying to figure out, what did I say that was funny? And then he said, so you don't subscribe to Christian subculture? And I was like, that's what this is. These people, I am on a campus with people who subscribe to Christian subculture. On Friday night, they go to their cell group meetings, and the youth Bible study, they're leading it, or doing something like that. I'm like, no, I'm roller skating to Run DMC, or I, whoever's the live jazz performer that night. And no, I don't subscribe to Christian subcultures. Like good luck trying to pull me away from, LL Cool J and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, so I can go and listen to Hillsong and somebody on the guitar. I don't think so. That's not what I do. So I finally understood exactly what was going on. They subscribed to Christian subculture. I did not. Lover of Jesus Christ, not a lover and not a practitioner of the Christian subculture. And then after we, we're having more meetings and everything, and it was just very comfortable. I used to love my monthly meetings with Chris. Well, one day I had about an hour before it was time for me to go to my meeting. It was not enough time for me to do any hardcore studying. And I didn't want to get sidetracked or rabbit holed and, down anything else. I couldn't take a nap because I'd be all groggy and stuff. So I thought, let me do a little light reading in the book of Revelation. So I grabbed my Bible and I turned to the, chapter 1 of Revelations. So I'm reading, And then I get to a verse that says, "And I will give you a new name." And I pondered that. I was like, "Wow, I wonder what is my new name." And then I kept reading, and then it's time to go, to the appointment. So I go to Chris's office, and as we're settling in, he's like, "So how's your week?" I was like, "Oh, it's been good, whatever." It's like, and I was like, right before I came, I was like, I was, doing a little light reading in the book of Revelation, and I came across this verse that says, "And I will give you a new name." And I asked, like, wow, and I said, I pondered aloud, I wonder what is my new name. And then Chris said, "Well, what did God tell you?" I said, "God didn't tell me nothing." And he says, "Okay, well, let's sit with that for a minute." So we get quiet, about 3 minutes or so, just deep breaths and listening. And then when I hear him stirring, I crack open an eye, and then I come to, and he says, "So what did God tell you?" I said, "God ain't tell me nothing." And he says, "I think I know. Alexis Grace." He said, "You are a person who is grateful for all of the grace that God has extended to you. And the way that you show and model that gratitude is you extend grace to others." He was like, "There have been so many different things that you've shared in our time, but what always comes out in the end is your grace for everyone, your grace for people, even those who wound you deeply. You are Alexis Grace. I was born Alexis Deneen. I was reborn Alexis Grace, a committed conduit and a grateful recipient. And I traveled this great earth, inviting others to do likewise." The story that you're about to hear right now gives an even deeper meaning concerning how we name ourselves, what happens when others name us, and what happens when we have the privilege and the opportunity to reclaim our name. Fam, this story is rich, it is layered, it is beautiful, and so is the storyteller. Please welcome Miss Gertrude Cesar Mitchell as she dresses her truth in story.
Je m'appelle Gertrude Cesar Mitchell. One of the ways that I like to introduce myself. So I'll start from the beginning. I remember even as a 7-year-old, I understood that there were two groups of people: the ones who had everything and the ones who had nothing at all. My mother, she worked with the ones who had everything. But all of that is about to change within 24 hours. And everyone who worked for the ones who had everything, their lives are in danger. And all this is happening because of political tension that's going on in the country. So within 24 hours, decisions are being made. My life is about to change. Some people are fleeing the country. And I remember by early August, my mother left the country as well. She moved to New York, and she left behind my two older sisters and I to live with my grandmother. Oh, my beautiful, dear grandmother. That, that says it all. That's enough said. She was something else. My grandmother was a strict woman, yet she was also a loving disciplinarian. And I like to stress on the word loving because that's who she was. She was like Tyler Perry's Medea character, except for the gun. She didn't have a gun in her purse, but she had her Bible. Her Bible was her weapon. And so I remember, life was good. I attended school and I played with my friends who lived next door to me. And so I had a beautiful life. I had a good life. And I went to church with my grandmother. On Wednesdays, we went to prayer meetings. On Saturday, we went to fasting. That's like from 7 o'clock to 12. And on Sundays, we went to church. So there were two things that sustained me. My faith in God, which my grandmother introduced me to, and the love that my grandmother had for me. She loved me well. She loved me well. That I can say. And so now my mother returns to Haiti to visit. She has been gone for about 8 years. She returns to Haiti to visit, and she tells us that we are taking a trip with her. And my grandmother was there too, so she will be coming on the trip with us. Oh my gosh, we were ecstatic. It was so exciting. We are going on a trip. We are traveling. Myself and my sisters, we are traveling with my mom and my grandmother. And usually when something exciting is happening, my grandmother, she loves to whisper. And not only she likes to whisper, she also praising God, whispering, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." And she also whispers to us not to let anyone know about our trip. Well, I kind of brush it off because, I told my friend who lived next door to me that I'm going on a trip with my mom. To me, it was just like the Haitian code, not to let anyone knows that when something good is happening in your life. And so now we're all ready. We're going to the airport. And we're all excited, my sisters and I. We are excited. This is big. We're going on a trip with my mom and with my grandmother. And my grandmother, she's like the leader. She's leading the way. She has our documents, she has the passport, and we are, my mother, myself, my sisters, we are following her because she is leading the way. And as we're walking through the airport, she tells us not to look back. And we did as we were told. We didn't look back. We kept walking straight forward and we did not look back. And now we get on the airplane. And still, the excitement, you can feel it. I mean, it's like just bubbling over. We are ecstatic. We are going on a trip with my mother and with my grandmother. And so while we are on the airplane, my grandmother, and my mom, she's chatting, and they're both chatting with each other. And she said something, and she said, "I am so excited for you guys now that you're taking a trip, you're going to America, and you are going to have a better life." Okay. Then my sisters and I, we looked at each other and we realized, wait a minute. This is not just a trip. This is not just a vacation. We are moving to America. We are moving to America. And for myself, I felt that I didn't get to say goodbye to my friends properly because I told them I'll see you later. But we are moving to America. And so now I spent the rest of my summer vacation in New York. And by the end of August, school starts. I am in a new country. I am 15 and I am in high school. Now, back home in Haiti, we speak Haitian Creole and French. We also have elective, for example, English and Spanish. But my first day in America, my first day of class, the class that I took in my English class, the class that I took in my English class is nothing compared to the day that I had on my first day of school. Nothing prepared me for this. And so, I knew a few words in English. I knew how to say hello. I knew how to say my name is. And I also knew not to look at anyone in the eye. I guess that was just like a New York thing. But my first day of school, my first class, while the teacher was taking attendance, she asked me to introduce myself. And I did, the only way I knew how. I said, "Hello, my name is Gertrude Cesar." Then she looked up at me with this expression on her face, and she said, "Gertie." Okay, so I went from Gertie to Gertie. All right. And that was it. I'm Gertie. And to be honest, it wasn't offensive because it now that my name is Gertie, it felt American. So my name has been changed. So now I went from Gertie to Gertie. It sounds American. And from that day forward, I have been Gertie. I graduated high school and I graduated college. I became a teacher myself, got married, I had two children, and so I was Gertie Cesar Mitchell. Now, I met a woman at a women's conference. Her and I, we chatted and we shared passion for writing. And she informed me that there were a group of women who met twice a month to sharpen their writing skills and also to discuss their writing projects. And so my first day at the meeting, we went around the room introducing ourselves. And when it was my turn, I said, "Hello, my name is Gertie." Then I shared a few tidbits about myself. Then we went on to the next person. Then suddenly, um, it kind of hit me. Then I said to myself, wow, I felt the warmth in a room with these beautiful Black women, talented Black women, who were also writers. And I said to myself, if I were to fully participate in that space, I really wanted them to know who I really am. And then I raised my hand. And the moderator said, "Yes, Gertie." Then I told them that I felt the love and the warmth in the place, and that I wanted to share with them that my first day of school, when I immigrated here, I was 15, and when I started school, the first teacher that I had, she asked me to introduce myself, and I did the only way I knew how. I said to her that my name was Gertrude Cesar. But since she could not pronounce my name, she decided to change it. It was a white teacher that I remember. She could not pronounce my name, so she decided to change my name. She called me Gertie, and I have been Gertie ever since. And I told this group I told this group of beautiful Black women that I wanted to reintroduce myself. And I did. I said, my name is Gertrude Cesar Mitchell. Then I began to cry. Cry because, it was kind of overwhelming. I was able to reclaim that name. And since then, I am torn between how I introduce myself when I am in American circles. But I'm also gracious, I'm also empathetic on how it is pronounced. Not the way it is, not the way that I pronounced it, but the way that they pronounced it, especially if they don't speak French. I understand now. I get it. But when I am on an international call and they ask me to introduce myself, and this is one of the ways that I do. Je m'appelle Gertrude Cesar Mitchell.
Ah, Ashe. Okay, I hear your cheering audience in the background.
Yes, my husband and my children are in the front row. They are my audience for today.
I
Live audience.
love it. Oh my God. Listen, that is so, so beautiful. I thought it was interesting, and I'm so glad that you included this detail about how, when we think of like a white person changing your name, it like some people can be like, oh my God, I can't believe that. But I love that you said, no, I was an American now. It sounded
Yeah.
American.
Yeah, I was an American. And what's so interesting is that sometimes with family members, when they used to call me by my, original name, Gertie, and I
Yeah.
used to correct them. I used to say it's Gertie. So that was interesting. So I
Oh my
embraced I literally embraced that new identity that she gave me. I went from Gertie, from being Gertie, and I have been Gertie from the time that I was 15 until the day that I met that beautiful young lady, that woman at the women's conference.
And I
Yes.
also love that you are a teacher. And do you encounter international students as well?
Yes, but I also have an interesting story. As you know, as a teacher, sometimes you have to do attendance just like the teacher did, the one that I
Yeah.
encountered in high school.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So one particular time I was working at the YMCA. I was a mentor. I was one of those after school counselors.
Mm-hmm.
And her name was Shoshana. So I said, Shoshana. She said, no, wait, teacher, it's not Shoshana. So I had to pause. I had to say, shush, because there's an apostrophe, Shana. So I literally had to say, shush, pause, Shana.
Wow.
Now, I,
Wow.
I I wish I can tell you that I was gracious. I don't think I was. To me, what was going on in the back of my head, they don't pay me enough to do this. Now you're gonna ask me to pause.
Oh, bless your heart.
yes.
You know, because it's so funny because I'm thinking, oh my God, she's a teacher and now she's encountered. You're like, okay, no, look, that got on my neck, got on my teacher's nerves, is on my nerves. Like, okay,
So
let me
I
just go ahead and take
understood.
attendance
Yes.
already. Yeah.
I'm more gracious. I'm more gracious and empathetic. Yes,
I love
I
it.
get it. I
I
understand
love it.
now.
Okay, so let's see. Let's go to the virtual pews. Stainless is like, yes, yes. Wanda, hey, Miss Wanda, she said, you will now be your true self. Absolutely. There's something
Absolutely.
about reclaiming your name. Yes. And he says, wow, love it. You just reclaim that beautiful name. And it is so beautiful. And you know, the other thing that you do that I appreciate is that you extend grace to people like me. You say, okay, there are some folks who've never taken French and they can't do it right.
Right, and it's
So
okay. Because I know
Thank
you
you.
mean well. Yes, you mean well. You mean
But even
well.
when Stainless said like that beautiful name, and it is so beautiful when you say the way you say it, it is just gorgeous.
Yes.
Rose says, I got to reintroduce myself to some folk. Absolutely.
Yes,
And that is so
sometimes.
interesting. The whole concept, but you know, that's powerful because when you reintroduced yourself, it was reclaiming like your French, Haitian, the French pronunciation, your Haitian name pronunciation.
Yes.
And I think that what Ro is saying is like, you know, there could be another way that we need to show up and reintroduce ourselves to other folks. I just was doing a workshop right before we went live where there were a group of men who were talking about their new identities
Yes.
and this whole idea of how we get to decide how we show up.
And also, like I said, the love. And, you know, when you're in a space that you feel the love and people who are and authentic, then you are able to make yourself vulnerable and open up and be
Absolutely.
authentic yourself and
Yeah.
and feel like, oh, I can be myself here. I don't have to say, oh, my name is Gertie, and I try to define Gertie. It's a Gertie, and you know, and
Right,
I didn't have to say all of that because because I wasn't in a space. I was welcome, and that name was also welcome. Gertie and Gertie, they're all welcome there. So
Okay.
that's also that's also powerful.
That's powerful. Okay, look, my mama. Hey, mama, how you doing? Mama said, make them practice until they get it right. Mama, did you not hear her say that some of us who don't know French, we can't do it right? Mama's like, you need to get on your French. Okay, hey, mama. Love you. Okay, Tekka says, yes, beautiful Black women, beautiful. Absolutely. And I think it is so powerful that it was a group of Black women that welcomed you, that said, hey, listen, what we're not going to do is call you anything other than what you tell us.
Yes.
And we're going to figure it out. And Cindy, hey, Cindy's like, yes, Gigi.
Yes.
Great.
And that's another story. I got Gigi too. So Gertie, Gertie, and Gigi.
Gigi.
Which one you want to pick?
Exactly. Oh, Dr. Barbie's like bawling. Oh, Dr. Barbie. Sup, mom? Okay. Oh gosh, I love it. Yes, Mama Emma, make them practice until they get it right. Okay, listen, I need for y'all to not co-sign on Emma Means madness, but you know, like, she said, make them practice till they get it right. Kayla, hey Kayla. She says, Gertie's such a beautiful story. I'm crying all over again. Yes, it was such a beautiful night. Just that, When you dare to just lovingly show up and tell us who you are,
Yes.
It is amazing how many people, how we can receive it. I think too often people don't trust the good in humanity.
Yeah.
We
Being
assume that
vulnerable. Yes.
yeah, we just assume that we're not safe everywhere.
Yes.
And there are so like, but we are safe, and there are places where we can just show up. And even if in that point someone had rejected you, I feel like that still would have been a breakthrough moment for you. But by the grace of God, you were loved well,
Oh yeah.
and you were
Because
received
yes.
extremely well. Yeah,
At that point, I was full of grace. I would have just said, it's a French name. It's just, for some
right, right,
reason, it's just Gertie
yeah,
or Gertie,
Gert,
whichever,
right,
yeah, if you
yeah.
can
So
pronounce it, that's fine.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Nadine says, please spell out your name. Want to learn how to pronounce it, which is so interesting because, thank you, Nadine, for saying that, because even when you put Gertie, sometimes I also see you spell it Gerthy, which,
That, yes, that's for my email. I added an H. So when even people pronounce it, they say Gertie because of the H. I said, you know what? It is what it is.
okay.
Gertie. But
Oh
a
my,
funny story I have, Alex. My husband is Trinidadian. So when he's pronouncing my name, it's way off from being just. He says Gertie. So it sounds kind of like he's saying goody.
okay.
So that's, yeah, it's like, so I'm more like his goody. Yeah, like
Okay,
from
so
instead of Gertie.
so it
Yeah.
looks like we have a great phonetic suggestion. It says, Auntie Nadine, to try and pronounce my mom's name, try saying gear then T. Is it gear or gear T?
Gel. Gel.
Ger, Ger T. Okay, is that better? Ger T.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just tell my mama, Miss Emma, Alexis did it right. Just give my kudos in front of my mama. Can you tell I did it right? Okay, she's not giving it to me. She was like, no, that would be me. She says it's like pronouncing pear, but with a G. Okay. Gertie.
Gel.
Gertie. Okay. All right. I think I'm getting better here. Edith said there's power in saying a name properly. Thanks for sharing, Gertie. That is
Yes.
so absolutely true. Like, yes, all the time that's taken to give us a name and then to have the correct pronunciation. Absolutely. And even in this country. Yeah,
Yes. That's
especially in
fine.
this country, you have agency. And
Yes.
so absolutely, and certainly over your name. So thank you for saying that, Edith. And then Ms. Wanda says, I think saying a person's name is highly respectful, which is why I'm like, okay, tell me, but I love how your baby boy is like, okay, pair with the G and then T.
Mm-hmm.
Gertie. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better. Stainless
Thank you.
says, when we allow people to change our name, we gave them power to decide who we are. Ooh. Ooh. Powerful story, Yelty. Now, okay, now Lon Raden just gave us a whole different. Oh my God, great job. Oh, okay, baby boy, still like giving you like, some good tips, good tips. Okay, awesome,
Thank you.
awesome. Okay, thank you so much. And you are working on a book yourself.
Yes,
Like you have several projects, right?
I'm working on my first novel, and I am taking
Yes.
a master class with a master writer. So
Awesome.
I am hoping that we will be able to complete this project by the end of September. I am
Oh,
stretching it into
sweet.
September because I want
First
to give
draft.
myself, yes, the first
Okay,
draft,
good. Okay,
yeah,
good. Good,
by the
good.
end of September, giving
Okay,
myself
okay.
room. Yeah,
Yes, yes. Okay, well, keep us posted on that.
I
Keep
will.
us
I
posted.
will.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Blessings. I'm gonna put you backstage. Hang
Thank you.
on. Y'all, I'm telling you, oh, these stories, these stories are everything. These stories make me know that the world really is a good place because we are in it. We are doing amazing things. We're decorating it. We're getting it in. Okay, before we close out Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine, there are 4 things that we do. The first is that we offer a public lament. And here's what I lament. I told you earlier about my podcast interview for the artist Soapbox that'll be coming out in about a month or so with Tamara Kassan. And when she thought that my morning walks were about my creativity, that I was like telling stories and like, kind of getting my brain refreshed, my heart really broke about thinking that there are people who wake up and they just start creating, and I am not one of them. I lament that there are so many bad messages that I have taken into me, not on purpose, but just by virtue of turning on the TV and seeing images that don't look like me and seeing stories that don't sound like mine, turning on radio and hearing music that, is just disparaging to me. Ain't nobody doing what Lakeside did. Lakeside said it was something about that woman, and that's still my jam. That was like back in the late 70s. I was a little girl, like I'm now 51, and Lakeside is still the jam because they sing affirming music. Shout out to the versus battle between Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers, two groups that venerated women and particularly venerated Black women. And so there are so many messages that go out there that I'm having to counter, even if I don't listen to any of them, because before I took agency, those messages, they still kind of resound. Even one of my favorite hip hop artists, he did an interview, and the interview was maybe like a year or so old. I can't remember how long it was, but it was tinged with such grace until he got to the part where he started talking about coming out of jail and just getting all these women pregnant. He says, I got a bunch of bitches pregnant. And I'm like, these are your children's mother. And like, they still bitches, fam. Like, even like when you on the end, like, wow. I lament that there are so many ways in which people try to diminish, demean, dehumanize me. And I cannot get up and just start creating. I've got to get up and cast my lots once again with the sovereign God. So I lament that I can't just get up and walk it out. But here's my prophetic hope. In Luke chapter 7, I think it's the 22nd verse. I have it teed up as a matter of fact. Jesus is John the Baptizer's disciples have come to him, and they've asked him a question: "Are you the one, or should we look for another?" And Jesus says, "Go and tell John what you've seen and heard. Go and tell John what you've seen and heard. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised up, and blessed is the person who takes no offense at me." I have been meditating on that and ruminating on what it's like for not just people to go and tell the story about what you're doing, but for me specifically to be a follower of Christ. And for Jesus to say, you know what, FYI, what I'm doing, you're going to do more of it. And how we often think of the blind as someone who cannot physically see. We think of the lame as someone who cannot physically walk. We think of a leper exclusively as someone who is diagnosed with leprosy. We think of the deaf as someone who physically can't hear. We think of the dead as someone who is, 6 feet under. But I began to think about what that could actually mean and what it looks like for me to embody and to do more and to do greater. And here's how I rewrote all of those. Go and tell what you've seen and heard. I tell stories, and people's understandings are open. I open their understanding. Those who feel disempowered, I teach them how to tell their stories so that they can stand up and walk it out. Those who feel unworthy, isolated, or silenced because of shame, I teach them how to dismantle that shame and to tell their stories about the uncomfortable truths that they've lived or their experience or whatever, but no more leprosy, no more isolation, no more silence. The deaf hear stories. They don't hear didactic rants. I speak and the deaf hear. They hear stories. They just don't want to hear the didactic rants. And those who believe that their life was over because of, you name it, because they have messed up too many times, because they are too old, because they are tired, because they have failed, and they've just decided, let me just go ahead and run out the clock. I declare that through the stories that I tell, that they understand that as long as there's breath in their bodies, they got more work to do. So take a deep breath. Exhale. If you were able to participate in that exercise, you are not dead. You are alive, and you have way, way more work to do. So be about those works that will cause people to go and tell what they're seeing you do and what they're hearing about what you've done. My crazy auntie has this thing called where she, and it's really about gossip. She'll tell people, look, if you're gonna tell me the story, tell it right so I can carry it right. That's her way of saying, look, don't have me lying on nobody as I'm telling the story that you told me. If you're gonna, tell the story right so I can carry it right. Live your life open, fearless, freely, so that when people see you, they're going to go tell what they've seen and heard. And I pray that what they see and hear is all good, because you are committed to the common good. Ashe, Selah, so be it. Okay, that is my prophetic hope. Now here's my energizing memory. Y'all know that I have, maybe you don't know. My first sermon was preached in an alternative, it was a Disciples of Christ church in LA called Tribe of LA. And we had dinner as a part of our worship, and we had wine with dinner. And if you weren't done with your drink, then you brought it over, to the area where we did the worship and the sermon and all of that. Like, everybody had their drinks with them if they weren't done. Well, the first time I preached, of course, I had wine with dinner. But my intentions were to leave my wine at my seat, like, I would normally do. And so I take the wine under my chair, and the Pastor Deb, before I got up to preach, they were taking the collection. And she came and she laid hands on me, and she prayed, Jesus, be with your daughter as she declares your powerful word, the word that you have given her to speak to us, like, have her fearlessly declare it. Be with her, go ahead of her, open our ears that we be receptive to what you have to say through her. In your name we pray, amen. So she hands me my Bible, she tops off my glass of wine, and I walk into the pulpit. You can see that wine is sitting on the back. I guess y'all can't really see the where I'm pointing to, but there's a glass of wine that's right there on that speaker behind me. Another thing that embarrassed the mess out of my mama. Mama, you're going to live through these embarrassments. You're going to be all right. So that is my energizing memory. The first time I preached at Tribe, and I did so with the Bible in one hand and my Bible in my one hand and a glass of wine in the other. Finally, on giving. Last week we talked about giving space, and oftentimes when we talk about giving, I am saying specifically we are not focused on money. And the reason why, it occurred to me, the reason why I don't like to focus on money as the exclusive way of giving is because not everybody has money to give, but everybody has something to give. Give grace, give mercy, give do-overs, give a word of advice, give a word of encouragement, give a compliment to someone, a stranger, a random person that you see. Someone that you see that you know is doing amazing things. Call them and let them know, hey, I see you. Keep going. Let them know that you see them. And if you have money to give or contracts to award or sponsorships that you can do, then please give that too. But here's my prayer. Whatever it is that you're giving, I pray that you give in a way that when it is multiplied and returned to you, that you're like, yes, that it is something that you want to receive. I think that if we were more cognizant of how what we put out could be multiplied, we'd be very, very careful of what we're putting out there. So I pray that you give grace, that you be conduits of grace and all good things that you want to see multiplied and given to you. All right, before we close out, let me go into the virtual pews. Dr. Barbie, just beautiful. Te amo muchísimo, Gigi. Okay, I hope I did not butcher that, Dr. Barbie. If I did, I'm gonna need some grace from you too. Nadine says, wow, I was now going to tell you, please write a book. Okay, so you already know it's coming. Dr. Lester says names and naming are so important in Black culture. True. Thanks for this fun and educational storytelling session. Yes. Uh-oh. Edith was like, I love Lakeside. Listen, I still got them on rotation. Lakeside, Confunction. Those are my dudes. They spoke lovingly about women and about relationships, and I'm addicted. And I can't hear anything else. I choose not to. Stainless says, go and tell what you've seen and heard. Amen. No more isolation, no more shame, no more blindness. Ashe. Ashe. Thank you. Thank you, Stainless. Rose says, tell it right so I can care it right. That is my crazy auntie. Oh my God, my peeps. My mama and I love to talk about it. And she when I tried to say care, she's like, no, it ain't carry, it's care. Cared right. They so country. I love them. Love them, love them. Everyone has something to give. Absolutely. Thank you for highlighting a range of giving and not making money exclusive. Not having money can be a source of shame. And the last thing that I think anyone should be doing in a faith-oriented setting is bringing on more shame. The world systems that we are part of, they do enough of that. And so may you be free to know that the giving cycle and the giving system is wide open. Only give that which you want to receive multiplied. So make that be your standard. Great job. Okay, they're still complimenting Mom. Oh, Frankie Beverly. Now you already know. I forgot about Frankie Beverly and Mays. Absolutely, or toted right. Okay, so clearly I'm not the only one with these country grandparents, grandmas, aunties, and all of that good stuff. Okay, so next week, before I let you go, next week we have Anna Darian. She is a crowd favorite. She is a master storyteller. She is someone who is super funny, and I cannot wait for you to hear the story that she's going to share next week. Because she and I have both been rejected often for our ability to be vulnerable and to tell truths that make others uncomfortable. But I thought this story was hilarious. And that is why I am so excited to bring it to you next week. All right. So with that, all minds are clear. Let us do our blessing and our sending. Okay. People are watching. They're watching us. And I pray that what they see and what they hear is something that you absolutely don't mind having repeated. But if what they see and what they hear is something that brings you shame, hear the words of the prophet Isaiah. He says, seek the Lord while, and I'm going to image God in the feminine. That is a part of a movement there's a feminist theologian who said if God has been imaged as male for 2,000 years, we can image God as female for another 200. So we're in that 200-year mark. So I'm going to give this prophetic text with God imaged and in the feminine pronoun. Prophet says, seek the Lord while she may be found. Call upon her while she's near. Let the wicked person forsake their ways and the evil person their thoughts, and let them return to the Lord, for she will have compassion, and to our God, for she will richly pardon. Your ways are not like my ways, nor your thoughts like my thoughts, says the Lord. For as high as the heavens are from the earth, so are your thoughts from my thoughts and your ways from my ways. Or as the rain and snow fall from the heavens and returns not again, but waters the earth, bringing forth life and growth, giving seed for sowing, bread for eating. So it is with my word. I send it out, and it always produces fruit. It accomplishes what I want it to, and it will prosper everywhere I send it. Hear the prophet declare that God is not holding anything against us, but God is like, okay, look, if you're out there and you don't want to have what you're doing be seen and heard and repeated, reform. Do it a different way. Do it in a way that when it is told and when they do see it and when they do carry it and they carry it right, everyone is blessed. The name of the Lord is blessed and glorified, and your name along with it. Love is not an option. It is a command. May the command to love lead you and me and us towards creative solutions. Ashe, Selah, so be it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you back next week at Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers.
My funny Valentine, sweet comet Valentine, you make me smile.